You're watching Idaho's News Channel 7. This is the news at 10.
My 12-year-old son is home by himself right now, and there are protesters banging outside the door. Okay, I'm going to go home and make sure he's okay.
Safety concerns stopped tonight's Central District Health meeting before they could vote on a proposed health order.
Ada County Commissioner Diana Lachiondo visibly shaken, her voice shaking after protesters lined the sidewalk outside her home.
The meeting had only started when board members Lachiondo and Dr. Ted Epperly said there were protesters outside of their homes and at least one other board member.
Minutes later, Central District Health Director Russ Duke interrupted the meeting, saying Boise Mayor Lauren McLean and Police Chief Ryan Lee wanted the meeting to be canceled.
Our Joey Prechtel was watching that meeting while all of this unfolded earlier tonight. Joey, a lot of moving parts. Let's let you kick us off.
Well, Mark and Kim, I got a chance to talk to Dr. Ted Epperly tonight after the meeting ended. He told me this was the first time where there was actually protesters right outside of his home. He said around a dozen people showed up. They were doing a number of things to make as much noise as they could, from banging trash cans, yelling, screaming, also shining a strobe light into his house through the windows at some points, really just trying to make themselves heard. Now, Epperly tells me that he was shocked that it got to this point. Now, while all that was going on at Epperly's house, there was also hundreds of protesters gathered right here in Central District Health's parking lot. Now, for the most part, that protest was very peaceful. They had speaker after speaker talking to the group, addressing everything from mask mandates to the survival rate for COVID-19 and more. Now, the decision to cancel the meeting because of the protesters came as a surprise to Epperly. He thought they could continue. He told me that he didn't feel like he was in danger, even though there were protesters right outside of his home. He said he wants the next meeting to be scheduled as quickly as possible so they can try to take up this revised public health order.
At the end of the day, that's what we're trying to do here. We're not trying to infringe or trample on people's rights. We're trying to protect the public's health, and that's the thing we can't let go in all of this.
Now, the meeting, not much happened before it actually got canceled. We didn't get to hear much of it. The only part we really did get to hear is Dr. David Peterman from Primary Health actually talked to the board. He was talking about some of the challenges that Primary Health has seen throughout the pandemic, and he also said they're overwhelmed by it. He also addressed anti-maskers.
When someone says, I don't want to wear a mask, or it doesn't matter because, I can deal with myself, what I'm saying is, no, this is spreading in the community and it's impacting the patients that I see and the parents that I'm working with.
I also caught up with CDH Director Russ Duke following the meeting. He told me the protesters outside in the parking lot at CDH were a huge concern at the time. He says that he didn't feel like he was in danger, also said that no one else in the room expressed they felt they were threatened or in danger either. So I asked him, why not just continue the meeting?
I understand that would definitely be one of the options, but when you get a call from the mayor, and that's where the meeting's held within her city, and she expresses concern about safety and made that request to me, I just passed it on to the board chair, and then the board made that decision to go ahead and end the meeting.
Now, at this time, it's not entirely clear when the board will take up this revised public health order. They do have a meeting scheduled for Tuesday and Friday of next week, though. Now, I did reach out to both Boise Police Chief Ryan Lee and Boise Mayor Lauren McLean. Neither of them were available for an interview, but Mayor McLean did address the CDH meeting at the very beginning of the Boise City Council meeting that was also going on tonight. You're going to hear more from her in just a couple minutes. But Mark, back to you.
All right, Joey Prechtel reporting outside a now quiet Central District Health headquarters. And as mentioned, Ada County Commissioner Diana Lachiondo left the meeting early. You saw how emotional she was to get home, where a tiny group of protesters were making a lot of noise on the sidewalk in front of her home in Boise, where her 12-year-old son was at the time. A woman who posted this video on Facebook showed a sign that read, "Lock down Lachiondo's lies about vaccines and business," and then went on an 8-minute rant rant with two other protesters blaring air horns and banging plastic buckets. All of this as neighbors inside a normally quiet Boise neighborhood looked on from inside their homes, some from outside.
Just, a dance party in Diana Lachiando's yard. We're just going to make a little noise out here in Boise. I don't know why we feel a little wound up. It could be because our freedoms are going away or something like that. Nearly 100% survival rate. In case you weren't certain, I thought I'd let you know.
We reached out to the commissioner, surrounded by friends and family tonight. She said she was doing, quote, okay, and wanted us to pass along a thanks to the Boise Police Department and everyone, she said, who came to her support.
Mayor Lauren McLean says she called the director of Central District Health and asked that he stop the meeting in the interest of public safety. She says Central District Health board members are trying to make the decisions that have been pushed down to the local level, decisions that the mayor says are needed to protect the health of the community. But the temperature, she says, had risen to a point that just wasn't safe. She talked about it more before tonight's Boise City Council meeting.
That this kind of these kinds of factions, this kind of behavior, the intimidation that families are facing when they're making the decisions they've been asked to make by our state is absolutely not okay. And if it requires me to stop meetings to protect the health and safety of our residents, I will do so.
McLean called the group a mob of people whose purpose was to disrupt local government inaction. She says they will hold offenders accountable because the rule of law is necessary for our democracy. And she says we need to remind ourselves this is not who we are. Despite the mob comment by Mayor McLean, only one person was arrested during any of tonight's protest. Yvonne St. Cyr was arrested tonight for trespassing inside the CDH building. BPD says while inside, she was refusing CDH rules and was placed under citizen's arrest by a staff member. Officers arrived later before booking her into the Ada County Jail on one count of trespassing.
After watching tonight's events unfold, Governor Brad Little is denouncing the protests outside the homes of Lachiando and Epperly. Governor Little said the following, quote, "The actions of protesters at the private residences of public officials is reprehensible. It is nothing more than a bullying tactic that seeks to silence our right to free speech, should not be used to intimidate and scare others." He went on to say there is no place for this behavior in Idaho. I urge calm among Idahoans so we can get through the pandemic together stronger.
It was a busy night for news. While all of that was happening, the West Ada School Board lost its second chairman in as many months. Chairman Philip Newhoff resigned tonight after a West Ada parent announced a recall effort against him has been certified. This comes a little less than 2 months after his predecessor resigned from the board. At tonight's meeting, the board was set to vote on a new pandemic operating plan for the spring semester. However, the board tabled that vote for an extended review period. They're expected to vote on the plan next week during a special session.
Tonight's events came minutes after the state reported a new daily record for COVID cases. More than 1,600 confirmed, while 425 considered probable. Our 2-week average is hovering right around 1,350 cases. That's the dotted line. Ada County is the hotspot once again, adding almost 500 new cases. Kootenai followed with roughly 325. Canyon with 208. Bonneville added another 160. The state, get this, is also reporting 25 virus-related deaths. Nearly 390 more have recovered. Now, people I talked to tonight say today's events you saw unfold here in the last 15 minutes are particularly disturbing, given the fact that the health district didn't resolve the purpose they were meeting in the first place, something that obviously will eventually happen which will draw, they say, no doubt, more protesters and more law enforcement.
And I was struck by something Mayor McLean told City Council, that what she saw tonight, Mark, what Madison warned against when he talked about small factions and angry mobs, a minority of people that make it impossible to govern. And she was saying that in a democracy like ours, it's so important that we remember who we are, how we work together, and the importance of rule of law, so that local officials, citizens, these are citizens who are giving of their time, can do what they've been tasked to do, which she says, of course, is to help govern. She said, by the people, for the people, and remember, for our health.
Very, very true. All right, we're back with more of what happened today in a busy day of news after this.
Having a new baby is a big life event. It can be stressful, especially right now in the midst of a pandemic. Tonight, Tammy Tremblay looks at how moms are adapting to a major change during COVID-19.
It feels like the world's closing in at times. KTVB meteorologist Bree Eggers is on maternity leave right now. She says the second time around has been more challenging.
This is not the world I imagined I'd be raising my babies in.
Wow.
I thought I'd go with my friends out on stroller walks, and I'd wear my baby to Kohl's to pick up the cute outfits and the whatever, and yeah, it's just not the case.
And it was rough, even before this cutie was born.
So we had our first ultrasound where Sean could come with me, and he got to listen to the heartbeat, and then he could not come to any other appointment. And I think that's the saddest thing about being pregnant through all of this, especially for first-time moms, is that I have to go alone. Mommy has to go alone to every appointment.
This is a picture of Sean, Bree's husband, waiting in the car during one of those important checkups.
He spent 2 hours in the car playing with Charlie's sticker book while I was in my 20-week scan.
Now that Colby has officially arrived, a lot of anxiety comes too, especially during a pandemic when there's a big feeling of isolation.
As if being a new parent or having a new baby is hard enough as it is, you're adding in so much extra worry.
The top three things I'm hearing are, one, not being able to have enough in-person visits for perinatal care, and then back and forth on whether or not your partner can attend those or a family member can attend with you. Not having the big family celebration at the birth, right? Only one person can come in. And then that, like you said, the isolation frustration, can't, really have play dates or go and do the things that you're hoping to do. And, the biggest thing we do not want moms to be is isolated.
Trista Kovac is a perinatal counselor at St. Alphonsus. She helps new moms find ways to manage their added stress. And she says even before COVID-19, the number of moms in distress was alarming.
So pre-pandemic rates of depression and anxiety were about 15 to 20%. And some studies, there was actually one done out of Harvard. They surveyed 7,500 women over 10 days in 68 countries and found that women are experiencing clinically significant depression and anxiety at 70%. We're talking a huge leap. It's shedding light on how serious it was prior to the pandemic and how undertreated and under-resourced it's already been.
Trista does have some advice for new moms having a rough time right now.
Being at home, change your thinking a little bit. Like I said, when you're focused on what you can't do, it feels really bad. So take a minute to, switch your environment, walk into a different room, take a deep breath. Baby cuddles are interesting and well-researched. It releases oxytocin in your body, which makes you feel good. So cuddle your baby. If you have a crying baby, put baby down, right? Take a minute and breathe and come back to it.
And don't forget to take care of yourself.
That self-care piece is really just so big, and I know people are tired of hearing that, but if it's ever been more important, it is now. So we are really advocating for, really paying attention to basics, making sure that you are looking at your sleep, that you are getting food and hydration on board, but that you're moving your body.
What's worked for you?
Getting outside, absolutely. Find ways to put baby down at times, to paint your toenails, or just take a hot shower for a long time, and put on a face mask. Actually, that is something I've been doing like 2 to 3 times a week, is once the kids are down for bed, I put on a face mask because that's just my time. just for a second.
Most importantly, though, Bree says be aware of your emotions. She watches hers closely.
As someone who struggles with anxiety and depression without the postpartum stuff being tacked on top of it, we have been very, very careful, cautious, and aware of signs and symptoms and trying to curb that and get it before it becomes a bigger issue.
In Boise, Tammy Tremblay, Idaho's News Channel 7.
Oh, Tammy, what a great story. And Bree, thank you for your openness. I know when so many moms hear your story, they're going to go, oh, okay, it's not just me, I'm not alone, because boy, as a new mom, you can feel awfully alone. But hearing your story, they know they're not the only ones struggling. So Bree, thank you for being so open and sharing that. By the way, the Boise Family Center has a lot of resources for new moms, like virtual new mom groups and counseling. And we have all of that information in this story on KTVB.com. Just find the Hello Idaho tab. And by the way, Bree, we can't wait for you to be back. She'll be back in just a couple of weeks to bring you the weather right here on KTVB. In the meantime, Jim has been filling in for her, and we thank him for that. He's up next with your forecast.
From News Channel 7, time for 7 First Alert weather.
Seems like a long time since we've had a change in the weather, doesn't it? Well, we've had this air stagnation advisory in effect for a long time, temperature inversions, and high pressure parked over the area. Haven't minded having the sunshine every day and the dry and somewhat mild conditions, even though we had the inversions, but it would be nice to have a little bit of a change, and one is beginning to come in. So this air stagnation advisory will continue through Thursday. The inversions are still in place, and our air quality index remains in the yellow category, or the moderate range, at least through Thursday, and then possible changes coming right after that. Well, right now it's mostly clear overhead. I have a few high clouds that came across the area today. Visibility has been good even with this inversion. Just a few little patches of some morning fog in some outlying areas. 33 degrees right now in Boise. It dipped down to the 20s for a while, back up to 33 right now. A little southeast wind has kicked in to around 11 miles per hour, and that's helping boost the temperature just a little bit. 43 the high today, 4 degrees above the average. This morning's low of 21 was 4 degrees below the average, so it all came out to an overall average December day as far as temperatures go. And we saw readings mainly in the low 40s in the Treasure Valley, mid to upper 40s over in the Magic Valley. Most of the mountain areas in the inversions were in the 20s and 30s. Some of the higher mountain stations reported temperatures as high as the 50s. This 63 at McCall, I think, is suspect. I talked to some of you through Idaho Weather Watchers and Facebook, and you gave me your reports that you were mostly in the 30s and 40s today. High pressure remains over the area, but we've got several systems that have been trying to break in over the last few days, and it looks like one coming through tomorrow will send a few clouds our way and some snow showers, mainly in northern areas. It'll fizzle out before it reaches us, so that's not going to get rid of the inversion. But another one coming in by late Thursday and into Friday has a little more oomph to it, and that is likely to do the trick in getting rid of the inversions. And it looks like the Futurecast is even saying a few snow showers by late Thursday night or Friday morning. Don't know if we'll see those down in the valley, but the mountains will start to see them. And then progressive pattern brings more moisture in with several disturbances through the weekend and early next week, which will be bringing us some rain and snow in the valleys and snow in the mountains. We might even see some light accumulations at times in the valleys by Sunday and change back over to rain in the afternoons. But tonight it's mostly clear for the Magic Valley with temperatures in the teens and 20s. Tomorrow, mostly sunny skies and back up in the low to mid 40s, 43 in Twin Falls and Jerome and 45 in Burley. Mountain areas dipping down to the single digits and the teens, but back up into the 30s and 40s in the afternoon with partly cloudy skies. For McCall, Donnelly, and Cascade, no 60s, 30s instead. More typical, 33 in McCall, 33 in Donnelly, and 32 in Cascade. And for the Treasure Valley, overnight lows in the teens to 20s, highs tomorrow in the low 40s. A few spots, Nampa and Caldwell may stop in the upper 30s. And for Boise, 40 degrees tomorrow after a morning low of 22. So Thursday, a few high clouds and 40 degrees. More clouds on Friday. Temperatures, because the atmosphere gets stirred up, will fluctuate a little bit. Upper 30s on Friday, a chance of snow on Saturday. Rain and snow on Sunday, and Monday and Tuesday look like a chance of snow lingers over the area. Several inches likely in some of the mountain areas, and we might be seeing precipitation off and on for several days into next week. We'll have more in the forecast or in the news coming up right after this.
Halfway through, 7 Cares Idaho Share is asking you to help strengthen the community safety net.
We're now in the week 2 of this year's campaign, and many of you have answered the call, and we thank you for that. More than $1,000 have been donated so far.
$100,000.
Oh, excuse me, Mark. Yes, more than $100,000 have been donated online and in corporate donations from companies that care. And the total is more than $340,000 if you add all that together.
Yeah, we need to keep on pumping it up, though. Whatever you can give, your donation will be doubled, as an anonymous donor has offered to match every dollar of your online donations. And if you'd like to join us, text 7 Cares, all one word, to 208-321-5614.
We'll then send you a link that outlines exactly how you can donate. Will is coming up next with sports.
How helpful is it to play 2 Mountain West teams right off the bat, maybe for down the road later this season?
Well, if I didn't know any better, I think we were in the Mountain West Conference right now.
Good evening, folks. Welcome back. We start out tonight down south in Logan, where Colby Blaine and the Yotes playing their second Mountain West Conference opponent in as many games. Back on Friday, the Yotes falling to Boise State. They follow that up with a trip down south to Logan to take on Nemeshkada and Utah State tonight.
Yotes get off to a nice start in this one. Charles Elzy with 12 points to lead the way in the first half. Buries that deep triple. Yotes down 11 at halftime. Second half, they chip away. What time is it? Ricardo time. He had a team-high 16. Yotes take a 1-point lead here. Former Mountain View standout Jalen Galloway from downtown. He had 15 tonight. Eventually, though, the Aggies would take control in this one. 90-64 the final. Justin Bean right here. He had a team-high 21 for Utah State. Some girls' high school hoops tonight. Centennial hosting CUNA. Pick things up in the first half. CUNA's Malia Wilson working hard on the offensive glass for the putback. CUNA up 17-6. Back comes Centennial. Annie Steenar behind the back. Nice feed to Xana Miller. She buries the jumper. Later, it's that same duo and same result. Steenar to Miller. Centennial down just 4, but CUNA responds. This is Lauren DeRazio cleaning up the miss. CUNA gets the road win tonight.
Hars, you look at Wyoming running back Xavier Valade. What stands out to you about him?
Probably the top Mountain West running back right now. I think very highly of him. He's one of the best running backs that we've seen, in a couple years. So
it'll be a physical ground and pound matchup on Saturday in Laramie. Wyoming entering Saturday's contest with Boise State, 9th in the country in rushing, averaging about 247 yards per game on the ground. Speaking of that number 9, individually, their star tailback Xavier Valade, he's also 9th in the country, averaging about 124 rushing yards per game on the ground. So how does Boise State's defense try and slow down this Wyoming rushing attack on Saturday? Well, here's what Boise State's defense had to say today. Shane, you look at Wyoming running back Xavier Valade. What stands out to you?
He's a good football player. I'm not going to lie to you. He's probably one of the better ones we've seen. He's just quick and so good at finding his holes and getting behind his blockers, and I think it'll be a really fun challenge to get to play a guy on that level.
I mean, honestly, he's one of the complete backs in this league. This guy's played in this offense a long time, and he's very patient. So he's one of those guys that's going to be patient behind the line, a little bit of Le'Veon Bellish, where he's kind of behind the line and then he will burst out of there. He understands how to set up his blocks and then explode through the line or the second level.
When you go up against an offense that likes to run the football, how exciting is that for you as a defensive tackle?
And it's war, basically. That's what we play for up front. That's why we call it the trenches. For our D-line crew, at least, this is what we want. This is what we ask for. So.
All right, that's going to do it for sports. In the meantime, be well, stay safe, wash your hands, spread some love and some joy. We're back with more news after the break.
Christmas in Color giveaway tickets every morning on Wake Up Idaho between 6 and 7 o'clock. Kim, this thing is cool. You'll love it at Expo Idaho.
I want to take my kids. Yeah. Hey, thanks for being with us tonight, everyone.
What fun to ride and sing in a one-horse open sleigh, dashing through the